Hello, this week's Sedra Pekudei. Serving God in a time period without prophecy can be a frustrating experience. We put our full effort into our mitzvah observance, praying, studying, helping others, and avoiding sin, but never receive a message from God if our efforts are satisfactory, or we need to strive even harder. In prophetic times, a prophet would inform us of God's level of approval over our actions. Much easier. This week's Torah portion ends with the completion of the Mishkan and the inauguration of that Mishkan, the tabernacle. As the building is complete, we read the following. Moshe and Aaron washed when they entered the tent of meeting, and they approached the Mizbeach, the altar, as God had commanded Moshe to do. He set up the enclosure around the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the Mizbeach, the altar, and he put up the screen for the gate of the enclosure. When Moshe had finished the work, the cloud covered the Mishkan, and the presence of God filled the tabernacle. Moshe could not enter the Mishkan because the cloud had settled upon it, and the presence of God filled the tabernacle. In his commentary on these verses, the Sforno explained the following. He says that after Moshe and Aaron finished the work in the Mishkan, and the structure had been built sufficiently for God's presence, his Shekhinah, to manifest itself in the Mishkan, it filled the entire Mishkan. Rambam famously wrote that God cannot be physical or possess any physical characteristics. Listen to his language. He said, it's explicitly stated in the Torah and the works of the prophets that God is not confined to a body or a physical form. As it says in the Torah, because Hashem, your God, is the Lord in the heavens above and the earth below, and a body cannot exist in two places simultaneously. Also, the Torah says, for you do not see any image. And it says, to whom can you liken me? With whom will I be equal? Where if Hashem could find to a body who would resemble other bodies. If God were physical or possessed any aspect of physicality, God would be limited and wouldn't be an omnipresent God. Now, if God isn't physical, how can our Torah portion include a description of the Mishkan as having the presence of God fill the tabernacle? What does that mean that it filled the tabernacle if he's not physical? In the Moreh Nevuchim, the Rambam explained the verses. The term is a homonym, which denotes that one substance enters another and fills it. It further denotes attainment of the highest degree of excellency. In fact, every application, the Rambam said, of the word to God must be interpreted in this manner, and not that he has a body occupying space. God isn't actually filling the Mishkan, but God's manifestation of his providence allowed the Jewish people to know their building of the Mishkan merited God's approval. God had promised, build me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in your midst. And now that the Jewish people had built the Mishkan, God was dwelling in their midst. The Jews of desert times had an advantage over Jews of contemporary times, over us. While they were alerted when God found their lifestyles lacking, we aren't told what God thinks of our actions. We hope we're doing well, and we always strive to improve, but we never really know. While the lack of knowledge of divine approval of our lives puts us at a disadvantage, the uncertainty provides an advantage to a certain degree. The Jews of the desert sinned disastrously by believing the spies' negative report on the Jews' ability to defeat the Canaanites. The knowledge that they had failed must have been so demoralizing and prevented them from repenting, from doing tshuva. But our lack of awareness allows us the inspiration to push forward and serve God with all efforts, unconcerned that previous sin might be holding us back. Sometimes, in a rare instance, it's better to not know. Shabbat Shalom.